And check, speaking of getting involved, we came across a motivational speaker named Marilyn Joyce. She inspires others by telling her story and how she overcame obstacles. You'll want to see this fascinating lady.
A mother, a neighbor, a best friend. She is the voice on your radio, a published author, a dynamic motivational speaker, and she may have been the nurse beside your hospital bed. Beaten by her husband and left to die with 2 young children, Marilyn Joyce found the strength to live victoriously despite her tragic circumstances.
I went through a situation where I had been married to a pastor of a church, was living what I thought was my best life, married to the person that I loved more than anyone in the world. I always told my friends, if my life were to end tomorrow, I've married the man that I love more than anything. I've got the life that I could only have possibly dreamed about. I was extremely deliriously happy. And when he became violent and abusive toward me and the children, tried to kill us, left us for dead, I found myself in a situation where my kids and I were living in a car, wondering how I was going to feed them every day, going to college in the midst of that, and trying to find a way to go on with life. And I looked up one day and realized that, that was not the worst thing that could have happened to me. I don't think there ever was a time where I said, I'm just going to give up and check out on life. I just kept seeing these priorities. And my priorities were my children, the legacy I wanted to leave to them, the life I wanted them to experience, and that wasn't going to happen without me. And so I don't think there's ever been an option to cash out. You know what I'm saying? There's never been an option for me to quit. There's always been a reason to keep going.
Living with lupus, a terminal illness, Marilyn Joyce teaches others how to live in the present.
And one day I started doing some research, and I was actually at work one day, and a physician walked past me and said, Marilyn, I was reading an article the other day, and I said, this sounds like Marilyn. He says, I see you here on the job, and I've seen this rash on your face, and I've seen this, and I've seen other things, and I've heard you complain about certain symptoms. And he says, I suddenly realized that you might have lupus, and you need to get this medical journal, and that just came out this month, and read this. And sure enough, that's exactly what it was. My life is no different from anyone else's. I've experienced some painful events, and I've taken the corrective actions to get away from whatever that painful thing is, or to deal with that pain, because there are some painful things that happen in your life that's actually a good warning sign. You know what I'm saying? So I always say that it doesn't matter what the pain is, whether it's with relationships, whether it's physical pain, medical pain, life pain. It always issues a warning, and then you have to make a decision right then and there. What am I going to do about it?
Author, speaker, and a personal trainer if people need it, right?
A success coach is what I call it. People need sometimes strategies. Mm-hmm. I always say I'm a master strategist. People need strategies to get to the next level. And when you're dealing with issues like disability, most of us understand what it takes to get up in the morning, to get going, to get through a day. And so we've learned how to incorporate strategies to live our lives and to do what I call mastering the business of living.
Now, you've also written some books. Could you tell me what they are?
Right. The first book that I wrote was actually some years ago. It's called If He Doesn't Deliver, When Women Have Nowhere to Turn, and it specifically addresses the issue of dealing with domestic violence in the religious community.
Oh, wow.
And for some reason, almost 10 years after I wrote it, it came to the attention of Pat Robinson, 700 Club, and I started being invited all over the country as a result of that book.
Marilyn, welcome to the 700 Club.
Thank you for
having you here.
When they first invited me, I was not able to go. I was taking care of my father, who was terminally ill, and I felt like I needed to establish my priorities. And even though it looked like a great opportunity, I knew where I needed to be. And after a year and a half, I thought that they would stop asking me, but it didn't, and so it was really amazing.
Tell me a little bit how you got involved in all this with your previous life, as they say.
Well, I started out, in a military family. I was an Army brat. I got an opportunity to...
You're not a brat. Come on.
Yes, I was an Army brat, and I got an opportunity to speak, at various different women's conferences and stuff in our churches. And one day, after I'd spoken at a church meeting, a lady came up to me after the meeting and said, I have a small company, and we're going to be downsizing pretty soon. I understand that you're also a nurse. Do you think you'd come in and speak to us about corporate downsizing strategies for coping with stress surrounding that? And I thought, boy, this is a little weird. We just got through doing this church women's meeting, and I said, and this is a business, so I knew that was going to be different, but it was something I could handle. After all, I was a nurse, and we deal with stress issues all the time. And that led to one word-of-mouth experience after another, then different sororities and other companies. During Desert Storm, I was asked by a local TV station that I was doing some volunteer work at if I could once a week come on they had a little women's talk show, if they could take 10 minutes of that, slice it out, and since I was also a soldier, I could speak to the issues of giving some coping strategies for family members that had people going overseas and for soldiers that might potentially be going. And we did that for about a year. And then, of course, the word of mouth spread from that. People would see me on there doing coping strategies and would invite me to speak at all different types of venues. So it's been, if it wasn't for the referrals and the word of mouth, I don't think that I'd be able to do as much as I do. I think that one of the things that we need to keep in mind is that we all have a purpose. When we place value upon ourselves and recognize that we have something to offer, we'll discover the greatness within ourselves, and we will have something to give out to others. Sometimes it's just a kind word. Sometimes it's just a cup of water, but you have a purpose.
Marilyn's story is a testament to what a person can accomplish when they really try. We all have challenges in life, and being able to overcome them is what it's all about. Well, that's it for this week's show. I wish we had more time, but there's always next week, so be sure to tune in. To keep you company until our next show, you can always check us out on the web at disabilitiestoday.com. There you can find in-depth coverage about the topics we cover. Take care of yourselves and drop us an email. Let us know how we're doing. Our show is about serving you and your needs. We'll see you next week on the show about abilities, Disabilities Today.
Disabilities Today is brought to you by GM Mobility. Maintaining your freedom? All it takes is mobility. GM Mobility. Wright & Philippus, a provider of prosthetics, orthotics, and home medical equipment. Wright & Philippus, first to serve your home health care needs. The Paralyzed Veterans of America, and by the Detroit Tigers.